So, I don't quite know why some people are calling this an emergency hearing. I don't think that's what it was called by the January 6th committee folks. But I saw a bunch of people online posted videos saying that there was going to be, there's one video, January 6th erection emergency hearing live. Regardless of whatever they choose to call it, there is an unscheduled last minute hearing scheduled for today. I was told 12 p.m. Now I'm being told 1 p.m. So the story on NPR is as follows. January 6th committee schedules last minute hearing for Tuesday. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol will hold its next hearing, its public hearing, on Tuesday, June 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to quote unquote to present recently obtained evidence and receive witness testimony. So they're claiming that they have some new evidence. We don't know what that evidence is. And I guess there's going to be some witness that is going to testify today. The committee had been expected to take a brief hiatus until the week of July 11th. This will be the sixth hearing for the Democratic-led committee, which has spent the last few weeks building a case around former President Donald Trump and his influence on the January 6th insurrection. The panel's most recent hearing on June 23rd focused on Trump's pressure on the Department of Justice to help him overturn the 2020 election. Of course, half the country won't care about abusing powers and perverting our Department of Justice for, you know what he was up to. But that's the reality of tribalism. So, what to expect from this hearing? Obviously, they found some kind of new evidence. I think it's you gotta imagine that this is pretty significant because they were gonna take a break until July. They already did a bunch of hearings. Um, I don't think anyone, even the commission themselves, has been complaining that there's not enough hearings, right? So there wouldn't be a huge incentive to go and do extra hearings. Again, there've been quite a bit of them, right? And you're about to take a break. You're not done. There's more coming. It's not like it's done and you had so much fun. You want to do more. That doesn't make any sense. So you're doing these hearings, did quite a bit of them, and you just took a little tiny break. You're coming back in July. July is like a week away. So one would have to consider that it would probably take something pretty significant for them to go and stick this extra hearing in there. Because obviously, doing another hearing is not, well, just doing another hearing is not going to change things, right? They've done so many. Like, why would one extra one be a big deal? Unless there is something that is very, very significant that they want to show this new evidence, right? So we can't know. We'll have to see what they come with, but it certainly looks like they might have stumbled onto something pretty significant. Now, from a partisan standpoint, obviously on the left they're going to love this, more so the sort of progressive media, centrist media, liberal media. The contrarian left, they're going to continue basically almost exactly like right-wing media, which is hiding from this contrarian. I think if this was a Bernie Sanders led commission, So it was Bernie Sanders and it was the squad who were running this, right? Then you would see the contrarian left getting involved or talking about it. But the problem is, this is one of the issues with partisan media, when you get yourself into a narrative bubble. So when your whole channel is, anti-liberal, anti-democrat, then you build up an audience that's what they come to you for. They want to hear you bash the Democrats. Look what the Democrats did. Look what Biden did, right? So now you have this commission that's being run by a lot of Democrats. So regardless of how significant it is, how important this is, you're not going to want to talk about it or cover it because you have an audience that expects you to bash the Democrats, and this is being run by them. So you can't be perceived as, supporting something that these fraudulent Democrats are doing, right? Because you're caught up in the tribalism. Now, I, on the other hand, live in reality. I believe the Democratic Party is a fraudulent scam of a party filled with liars and opportunists and social media influencers pretending to be politicians, right? But just because I don't have much respect for them and I look at them so badly, I live in reality, right? So I don't care about how fraudulent they are. These hearings are very important. The stuff that they're talking about need to be discussed. It needs to be addressed. Now, again, because I live in reality, I realize that they're probably not going to do much necessarily to prevent this from happening again, which is the very purpose that this is supposed to serve. But just because I believe that they are going to fumble the ball at the end, that has nothing to do with the importance and significance of what they're doing and the fact that they're doing a pretty good job at it so far. Certainly not to the level that a lot of liberals think, but I think they're doing a pretty solid job. The way I describe it is that they're doing it at, me not being an attorney, they're doing it at sort of a court standards, meaning I feel like if they presented their case the way they are in a court of law, I think they would do pretty good in terms of how they're doing it, the evidence that they're presenting, the way they're building up the evidence, and just breaking everything down. I think they're doing a pretty solid job. So I can recognize that while recognizing that it's probably not going anywhere. At the same time, I can also recognize that this party is a fraud. But if you're on here as an entertainer, you're on here to pander to your audience, then you want to pick a tribe. And if you're the anti-Democrat tribe, then no matter what the Democrats do, you have to go against them. And in something like this, it's not that easy to go against them. I mean, I think easier for right wingers, but if you're a contrarian left, you're a blue MAGA, it's not as easy to go against them. So it's best just not to talk about it at all. You might mention it here and there and say, hey, people are worried about gas and this is what the Democrats are doing, and the typical talking points. But if I were a conservative commentator, then based on what I see happening, I can see that I'm still very pessimistic about people being held accountable. But based on what we're seeing, it looks like there will be some people held accountable beyond just the little guy, right? So far, it's been a lot of little guys, right? Just regular people who committed some really serious crimes and therefore, should have been prosecuted. But less so much on the people at the top, as usual, right? A two-tier justice system. You got as Tim Pool says, the Mimas that who punch a cop in the face and get in prison. Meanwhile, the elite who pushed that Mima to do that in the first place gets away scot-free, and in fact, still leaning into it. The same kind of conduct that pushed that Mima to do what she did, these elites are still doing it flagrantly, just like don't even care, right? So to let those guys get off and then only go after the little guys, that's bad. I think that's going to change. The commission is not playing games, although if what they're presenting is something uncomfortable to you, you will look at it as purely theatrical and it's all games. But living in the real world, I can see they're not playing games as far as what they're presenting. Again, what they're going to do with this information, that's where the games come in my view. But currently, where we're at right now, they're not playing games. Um, so they're kind of opening up multiple Pandora's boxes every time, and it's hard to, or impossible, potentially, to close it. Now, there is one potential way that they could close Pandora's box, and who knows? These people can be very calculating and very sneaky in what they do. Um, so once the Republicans take power, they can shut all this stuff down. So you can posture and oh, this and that, and we have democracy and this and that, and you can play it so you do just long enough that the Republicans take power and then they shut it all down. So that way, this is a common Democrat strategy where you get to get the political points for appearing to actually do something about something, but without actually having to do the work, right? So you went through all the motions and you got all the evidence, you did all this, that, and then those evil Republicans came and squashed the whole thing. That's not our fault, right? So you know that that's what Republicans can do, but you can set it up in a way where it opens the door for them to do it, and then you can sit back and say, right? And then a lot of the people on your side not realizing the scam. They will defend you and say, well, they did a really good job and blah 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 blah. And it's just those Republicans. Like that's the typical scheme, right? But if I were a right wing channel, conservative channel, because I can see some people, more people getting charged. I can see I can see some convictions coming from some high level people, potentially like a Trump attorney or somebody from Trump admin. Um, I don't know if the real elites are gonna get any consequences. So, people in the Republican Party are probably gonna somehow magically skate free. But here's the key detail. So strategically, from a partisan standpoint, from a tribal standpoint, a good tactic to utilize, and you can pay attention. This is what is done. There's enough evidence that's showing that a series of crimes were committed by multiple individuals. So that's going to lead to arrests and convictions. Don't get too excited about the conviction part, is where things can lead. Here is the critical detail. As a right-wing commentator, what will be very effective is every time the Department of Justice puts the hammer down on these elites, right? Every time they put the hammer down on these elites in the Trump allies and stuff like that, people in the Republican Party or connected to, what you do is you just keep talking about how Biden is using the Department of Justice to attack his political opponents, right? You keep saying that over and over again, and a lot of people gullible in this country, they'll fall for it, and they will look at the same people who talk about elites not being held accountable. Will look at a situation where elites might be held accountable and have the opposite response. Instead of being like, finally, they're gonna be like, this is unacceptable. How are you going after your political opponents? Um, because these people disagree with you, now you're gonna use the government. This is fascism and whatever. The left is calling us that we're fascists, but look at what they're doing. This is the kind of stuff like Hitler. The idea of going after and arresting and all this kind of stuff. People just because they disagree with you or whatever. That narrative will be very, very effective. A lot of people will fall for it. So let's see if that is what happens. But I'm expecting there's gonna be a lot of right-wing channels that are gonna be talking about abuse of powers and government overreach, and this is purely political. And then another good trick that'd be very effective is you can point out any corruption in the Democratic Party, and then you can use that as a deflection and say, well, look at what Pelosi's done. Pelosi's done this. How can she be going after what? Look what the Democrat. This is one sided. Now they're going after these people just because they're conservatives or whatever. Because look at these liberals and look what they did. Look at this Democrat that did this and that Democrat and nothing happened to them. That's how you change the topic. That's how you deflect. And it's very effective. You keep doing that, and it's a coordinated effort. Fox News can push it out, and you have like a Tim Pool, you have a Ben Shapiro, you have a Steven Crowder, and they all start saying this narrative about the politicizing of the Department of Justice and attacking your political opponents, and they're going after conservatives, and this is like Hitler and all this kind of stuff. And you keep pushing this narrative, and you start saying it enough, and a lot of folks on the right will absorb that and accept it as fact. So that's how you get people to operate against their own best interests. I mean, it is all of our best interests as Americans that no one is above the law. People violate the law, they're held accountable, especially those at the top, right? But through propaganda, you can actually have the people who are going against people at the top being held accountable because it's been put into their brain by these establishment accomplices or GOP agents who pretend to be so-called independent media. They can push out that narrative over and over again. We're humans. We're susceptible. If I'm a right-wing channel and my politics are closely aligned with yours, you're going to drop your guard. You're going to be more susceptible to manipulation. And if I keep telling you stuff about how they're going after them because they disagree with them, whatever, as a human with your guard dropped, I can essentially do a form of mild brainwashing where you start to believe and accept these narratives. So then all of a sudden you become against this. So criminals did something highly unconstitutional, and you are a person, love your country, you believe in the Constitution, and here's someone who went against everything you believe in, but yet you're going to be manipulated into going after the people holding them accountable, right? Because it'll be framed to you as the opposite of what it is. And if enough people that you trust and listen to who align with your beliefs keep saying this over and over again, at some point in time, you're going to start accepting it. It's just like, ironically, I was having a conversation with a subscriber today about the Don't Say Gay bill. They keep calling it that, right? They've been calling it that over and over again, to where I'm sure most of the people on the left don't even know what the name of the actual bill is, right? This is the benefit of repeating something over and over and over and over again. A lot of false narratives get. Oh, that's nice. All right, guys, we'll take something on after the hearing. Oh, I guess it's still running. Did you hear about Sergeant of Arms that died? When was that? I did not. When did you hear that? Sergeant at Arms died. Wait, what? I gotta look that up. YouTube is such a mess, man. Demand, I don't even see you in here. I see your comment, I don't see you in here. It's crazy. Sergeant at Arms. Oh, another detail that I didn't mention. Whoa. Whoa. This is crazy. Sergeant at Arms in charge of security during January 6th riot dies. Holy shit. This thing just won't stop. That's bananas. Wow. No, I forgot what I was gonna say. There's another element I forgot to cover. So surprise hearing. Oh, another factor. So just like I mentioned, I think they're already starting to do that, right? Where people are being held accountable and then they frame it as politicizing the Department of Justice and going after your political opponents, right? I think one of Trump attorneys got arrested and they took his phone or something. So if I'm a right wing channel, I'm just gonna again, I'm gonna frame it as politicizing the process and going after your political opponent. I'm gonna keep putting that in your head. Very, very effective strategy. What I'm not gonna point out to you, what I'm not gonna tell you, what I'm gonna keep from you, right? You lie with the truth. I only tell you the truths that paint the narrative that I want to paint, and the other stuff I hide. What I'm not gonna tell you is, in order to get such a warrant, you got to think about the significance of this. You arrested an attorney for a former president of the United States, a man who basically runs the entire Republican Party as a civilian. Of course, no one on the right is concerned at all about how bizarre that is to have a civilian running a political party. You're not in government anymore. Like, that is so un-American, but of course, no issues. But to get a warrant to go and arrest an attorney for a former president, guy who's head of the Republican Party, pretty much, that is not going to be easy to do, right? In order to get any warrant, you need to present evidence. You need to present a solid case in terms of why this is necessary. What are the grounds that that are the basis for your belief that you should get the ability to do such a thing? Such a wow! You want to arrest an attorney? Number one, attorney of a former president. Whoa! Whatever argument you are making better be solid, because, and it's not even just about principle, right? You could put principle aside. As a judge, especially where things are headed, Republicans are about to take power. As a judge, you can't give somebody a warrant to go and arrest an attorney of a former president and not dot every I and cross every T. Because the liability, this is going to be huge, and that is a can of worms. You go to that level, you better be 110% sure that this is legit. You can't come in with no half-ass, this and that. No, you need to have some solid stuff. So we're not going to know all the stuff they presented, right? That's confidential, right? And that's the thing. We won't know yet what it is that they presented to the judge. They would have had to present some stuff that the judge would have been like, wow, okay. That'll hold up under public scrutiny when the Republicans take charge and they do their investigations and whatever, and this comes out. I feel comfortable that I'm good, right? Otherwise, rejected. Sorry, guys, rejected. I ain't touching that. Nope. The evidence you have is not substantial enough. I am not authorizing you to go and arrest. Are you kidding me? No, you got to come back with some solid evidence. So the fact that they got the warrants, I got a meeting starting shortly, I think. The fact that they got the warrants is very, very telling. And if I were in the Trump orbit, I would be very, very concerned, because it looks like they have some really good, think about all the stuff that they've shown, which has been bad enough, and consider that they have stuff that's even worse, right? Because it was solid enough to get a warrant. So think about all the stuff that they have that we don't know about yet. And not just the commission. Also, well, it's not the commission. I'm sorry. twisting wires here. Um, the warrant would be for the Department of Justice. So that's another thing you have to remember. People are talking about, hey, the commission, who cares? It's for the FBI. The FBI is investigating. Right, the FBI is investigating, but as you people like, Mueller, this current uh man at the head of the Department of Justice is kind of like, to me, is like Mueller in a way, where he's worried about how, optics. He doesn't want people to think he's being political and all this kind of stuff. So he's like half-assing and whatever, like, well, right? Um, and also the FBI, like the same people who don't trust the FBI want us to trust the FBI now, right? So the two, I think, are very important. The FBI should do their job, but the commission also helps, because these people need to be held accountable, and we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. Again, I don't have much faith that they're gonna go that far, but if they were, this is how you do it, right? This is how you do it, because the Department of Justice on their own, I think, is gonna half-ass it. In this country, elites always get away. Not always, but a lot of times they get away. When you have all this noise coming from the commission, it makes it harder for you to kind of like, well, so it puts pressure on the Department of Justice to actually do their job. And it's funny. By you not wanting to be political, you're being political. Right? That's being political. Because you're looking at evidence, and then you're basing your decision on what you're going to do based on the political impact. I don't want to appear political, so I'm gonna kind of be easy on some of these people. Normally, I would have thrown the book at somebody that does this, but in this case, I don't want to do it because of the optics. That's being political. So what that means is you're choosing to actually be political, as opposed to being perceived as being political. Think about that. You're choosing optics over reality, right? You're choosing perception, right, over reality. I would rather people think that I'm not being political, but I'm okay with actually being political by doing that. Right? I'm being political by being soft on these elites because they're in the opposing party and people are going to think I'm being political, right? So I'm going to be soft on them. So the perception is that I'm not political, but by me being soft on them, I'm being political. Right? That's what's basically happening. Where we have a Department of Justice as being political in order not to be perceived as being political. But anyway, bottom line is, unless they had some solid evidence, they're not going to get approved for the warrant. But right now, I got to see what's up with this sergeant of arms. That's pretty insane, especially the timing. And they're doing this like last minute hearing with some new evidence and some new testimony. And then the sergeant of arms is dead. He just died. Like, when did he die? What is this? Died when? Has died 1 day before Tuesday hearing. That's insane. More bodies. More bodies for right-wing media to pretend, it's just a coincidence. How many people have died since this hearing? And it's just, it's nothing to do with January 6th. Was just nothing, no big deal. Never mind how close they were to the White House and how close they got, 50 feet from the vice president. Never mind how many officers are now dead. Now the sergeant of arms is dead. That lady or two ladies got trampled or had a heart attack. Never mind that. The former Senate sergeant of arms who oversaw security during last year's Capitol insurrection has died. The Marine Corps veteran, 71, spent 35 years in Secret Service. I don't know, guys. I'm going to do a separate stream about this. This is pretty insane. This is like a crazy movie. I don't know. This is just, I just can't believe this is reality that's happening right now. All right, guys. I'm gonna do another post and talk about this. I don't know. It's obviously very suspicious, but um, I gotta look into what the facts are and share it with you guys. So I'll be on in a second. Wow.